All right, welcome everyone. My name is Kat. I know most of you guys. I'll introduce myself anyways. I'm the director at Northeast and the director of recruiting as well. I'm super excited to be doing our first webinar with Brendan McGurn, our new recruiting coordinator. And I won't give you guys his full bio, but he has coaching experience at the Division I level and national championship playing experience at the Division III level, and also coaches our 18 open team on the girls side, and most recently was at Yale, where he was in charge of much of the recruiting there. So he's got a ton of great connections and great insider information, and we'll be reviewing a lot of good content for you guys. A lot of you guys are starting the process, and a few people who are partway in it. So we'll just get right into it. And feel free, by the way, as we go, to throw some questions in the chat. Brendan, while you're presenting, I'll be clicking through those.
Awesome.
And we'll try to answer anything at the end. Hopefully we have time for a little Q&A as well. All right. Oh, 2 slides. All right. I think we shared this data, some of our kind of open houses and things. And we're really proud of this. We've committed over 47 athletes to various programs, from the ACC to in Division I to the NESCAC in Division III. We have 9 players playing, and I think more that we may not even know of, playing club volleyball, 12 D1 players, 24 D3 players, 1 D2 and 1 junior college. And that's just since being open since 2018. I expect that number is going to continue to go up year after year with as the success of our teams and our athletes has just gotten stronger every year. So these are a few samplings of a few of the schools. And it'll be nice as we continue to build a network of alumni as well. We'll have, you'll have the ability to reach out to players and hear about their experience or make a connection that way too. So here's kind of what we're some of the things we're gonna cover at the beginning here. Just an overview of what we do, a timeline, some recruiting materials that you'll need to get started, and then reviewing some of the highlight video needs. This will be kind of in the first portion of the meeting. I know we have some people who might be joining a little bit later who are a little further into the process, but these are some of the basics that will be needed. There we go. Okay, this is our little bit about us and what we do. So our goal in the recruiting process is to really be guides. If you want to play in college, there's going to be a lot of hard work that's required on the court, as well as off the court, with research and reaching out to coaches. And we're here to provide resources, to provide guidance, feedback on videos, a coach's perspective, sometimes a connection or a recommendation and things like that. But these are kind of some of the services that we do. We do one-on-one meetings. We can provide quick feedback on videos and emails. That's something I wish some people would do more, as you get close to sending stuff out. Just, hey, what do you think of this video, or what do you think of this email? Some education that we have on our website, which is linked there, exposure via our tournaments and networks of college coaches. And then lastly, we offer a partnership with sports recruits, which I won't go into right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Again, this is kind of our philosophy. We're going to provide guidance and some specific services, giving you some expertise, some feedback, making it a good experience for you. The 2 things I really want to stress here: the most important thing you can do in your recruiting process is to get better every day. The process will become a lot easier. The better you get at volleyball, the more doors will open and you'll get more feedback on your videos and more responses. The second piece is that we are, again, here to guide you. We're not here to do the work for you. And that is kind of sometimes a place where people get stuck in the process is just they don't know where to start. So hopefully after this, you'll feel a little bit better. You'll have a little checklist about some of the things that you can do just to get started. And we will be, as kind of the more you tell us about what's going on, the more hands-on we'll be able to be, and in some cases we'll be able to give you like a bigger view, and you may go off on your own and do that. We've seen people have success both ways, leveraging our services a lot more, and other people who say, hey, I'm ready, I know what I want, and kind of go off and do their process on their own. And we're here to, support however you want to do that. All right, I'm going to kick it over to Brendan to hit you guys with some stats before we get into the content. And Brendan, just let me know when you want me to progress.
All right. Yeah, I love some stats. This looks a little daunting, but it's just to make everyone kind of realistic about your expectations. Less than 6% of high school athletes compete in college, and then 1.2% of high school players play Division I. Everyone wants to be a Division I athlete, but it doesn't always work out that way. And of those numbers, I would estimate probably about 50% of those 1.2% are actually on scholarship. So there may be some opportunities for people to play Division I, but there may not be a scholarship there just because there's teams that aren't fully funded, walk-on players and that sort of thing. So we can move along, I guess. Next slide. So here you can see, the different numbers of teams that are available, the team sizes, and the scholarships that are available. Volleyball is considered a heads count sport at the D1 level. All that means is that if there's 12 allowed, there can only be 12 players on scholarship at any one time. Kat mentioned that we really want you guys to own this process. There's over 1,000 programs. When we add boys into it, there's probably close to 2,000 programs total that you can play in college. And there may be over 50 of you trying to do this. So it really comes down to you guys kind of putting the work in to reach out to the schools that you're interested in, because me and Kat we literally can't know everyone in every school and every program. So you guys are going to have to do some research. We do get asked every so often, like, where can I play? Everyone that's on this call can play college volleyball. Does it align with your academic goals and the things you want to do in your life? I think we're good to move on to the next one. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the timeline, and this is going to vary a little bit. I think the next slide does a good job laying this out.
All right, it's a little slow on the loading. Let's see.
No worries.
There we go.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's going to be some generalizations here. Things are a little bit different, but for the most part, as a freshman, goals: get better at volleyball, focus on your academics. Kat already mentioned it. It will open up doors for you. It will open up all the doors for you, though. You could be the best player in the gym and be terrible at recruiting, terrible at keeping in touch, and coaches will still want you because you're the best player. So that's got to be the focus first, is be better at volleyball and have the grades to open up those doors. And start to think about the colleges you want. Sophomore, create that list, get your highlight videos, start to think about camps. We're going to talk more about camps later on in this. Junior year, SAT, ACTs, they haven't mattered the past year or two, but that will come back now that we're through COVID. So we definitely need to get those test scores back up. And then you're starting to build relationships in the junior year. Ideally, go sophomore into junior year. If you're pursuing Division I, that's when you're starting to make your more advanced contact with coaches. And then the only thing to know here too is for the boys that are on the call, the boys' timeline is a little delayed. You'll do a lot of your initial recruiting may start in your sophomore year. And then junior year is when, like probably mid to late junior year is when you would really start communicating with your coaches, as opposed to the summer of the female athletes entering your junior year. And then we've had a few people ask, sorry, you're a good cat. We did have a few people ask, like, is it too late to start? I'm a junior. It's definitely not too late to start. It depends on your goals. If you're starting out as a junior and your goal is to go Division I, you might be a little late. You're probably looking at a walk-on position. If you are a junior and you're looking at a Division III school, you're probably right on the same path. You want to probably get your highlight videos and stuff that we're going to talk about later going as soon as possible, but it's definitely not too late. Again, it depends where you want to go for college, but there is volleyball available for everyone. All right, so our recruiting materials. I am a big fan of creating a recruiting email. You may already have a pretty professional email. You definitely don't want to use like vbgirl77 whatever at yahoo.com. So create a professional one that's like first dot last. I like, Kat's example of Kat Minyard with her graduating year. The graduating year is just a nice reminder to coaches what class you're in. And then you can have parents have access to it, so parents can help keep you keep you on top of things and help keep you organized. The university athlete profile, everybody has one of these. You're going to want to go and claim it. If you go to universityathlete.com, it's literally right there. It just says claim my profile. It's a part of your USAV membership. University athlete is for college coaches. We're going to talk about sports recruits later, but University Athlete is basically a platform that coaches use when they go to tournaments. They'll be able to access your information, see your course schedule, and make notes on you that you won't be able to see, but it's what every 90% of colleges are using to keep their recruiting organized. So you need to be on there. If you happen to be on this call and you played last year and you already have a profile, please, please, please update it. We don't need to know your freshman year GPA. If you're now a junior, we need to know your junior year GPA. You may have grown 2 inches. You may have changed positions, your jersey number. So definitely get in there and update it. Start filming and compiling highlights. I'm a bigger fan of a skill tape or club volleyball highlights than I am of the high school volleyball highlights, just because I think the competition is better. A skill tape, you can talk to your club coach about it or reach out to some of the directors. That's a great way to just break it down so that we can just see your raw athletic ability outside of a gameplay. And then start beginning to think about researching schools and making like a preliminary list. I like to tell people when you're coming up with your list, think about, do you want an urban school? Do you want a rural school? The size of the school that you want? Specific majors you may be looking for, high academic versus, hey, I just want to play the best volleyball I can. So definitely some things to think about there. I think we're good, Kat. Oh, all right, perfect. So we want to get a template together to send out to our coaches. If you have not started your recruiting process, or honestly, even if you have, it's great to reintroduce yourself or introduce yourself for the first time. It's okay to use a template. You want to make like a nice letter. You want to put in all of your basic info into there, your grad year, your position, the club team you play for. Probably put like a paragraph about your academics, a paragraph about your volleyball career, and then your aspirations in volleyball. And then you always want to link either your sports recruits profile, your huddle profile, so they can watch some film, or your YouTube if you end up making a YouTube channel. You want to put some personality into these. The first one is okay to be like a little bit, lay out who you are and what you want to do. But it's always nice to get to know a kid a little bit through their emails. And yeah, after that initial email, you definitely want to start to show some personality. We're going to mention the word personality a lot during this. Coaches want to know who you are, not just, I need an outside hitter. Like, I want an outside hitter who fits in well with my team, that fits into my program and the culture that we're trying to build. Other quick things about the email. I believe we took the template down just because too many people were using the exact template and literally replacing their names. We need you guys to come up with this kind of on your own. We can help you and assist you. If you create one, you can send it to me or Kat. We can look at it for you before you blast it out to coaches. But a lot of you guys are looking at the same schools. You know, a lot of Northeast players are looking at NESCACs. We don't need every Northeast player sending the same exact template email to those coaches. It just shows that like you didn't put any effort in, and it kind of makes us look bad. So definitely personalize it. Academic paragraph, athletic paragraph, maybe something fun about yourself, tournament schedule, link to video. That's all you need to do in those intro emails, just to let coaches know that you're interested. And then one other quick tidbit with these initial intro emails, emphasize your best attributes in the subject line. If you're 6'4", that has to be in your subject line. If you have a 4.5 GPA, that has to be in your subject line. Put whatever makes you stand out in there.
One other thing I would mention there too is like keep in mind like the goal of the email, which in your mind is kind of to introduce yourself, and that is the main goal of it. But really the goal of the video is to get the coach to click on your highlight video. So make it easy for them, make it, you know, early in the email, bold, and make like Brendan said, somehow compelling, like whether it's something a physical stat or just something about your personality, or you know, and make it clear your position, your class year, and stuff like that, so that they know, okay, I'm looking for a 2025 libero, and they see that you're 2025 libero early on, and here's your video. They're more likely to click on it rather than if they have to scroll down and read through, you know, 5 paragraphs before they get to it. So that's really the goal from our standpoint, is get them to see the video, and then hopefully the video, and as we'll see in the next slide, speaks for itself, and gets them to, you know, take the next steps. Next slide, V.
Yep, good to go.
All right, video.
Yeah, so that intro email is going to have a nice link to your video. It's called a highlight video. So it should speak for itself, but sometimes people make a highlight video and it doesn't actually showcase themselves properly. This is the coach's first time looking at you, most likely, if this is your intro email. You know, Northeast has done an amazing job being able to record practices using Huddle. You always see those nice tripods and cameras at all of our tournaments. It's very easy when you log into Huddle to break down your film. It's already broken down, like you can search by, you know, your swings, your digs, and then you can clip it and make some nice compilation videos. When you make these videos, and definitely include your jersey number, the position you play, you know, things like that, we want you to be repetitive with it. It's got to be in every email that you send, you know, any highlight you make. It just makes it a lot easier for the coaches because they're looking at, you know, hundreds of players. Make it easy on them to recognize who you are. And the goal of this is to make a coach want to come see you live. That's literally the only goal of this 1 minute, 2 minute highlight video you're making, is that a coach is going to go, she looks pretty good, he looks pretty good, I need to go see them play in person. It's very rare that you'll get recruited just off of video. So the goal is definitely just to draw the attention to you. They're going to go into University Athlete, they're going to mark you, and they're going to go, oh, this had a really good film, need to go see her play live. That's the goal. Good to move on, Kat. All right, so within this highlight video, always put the key info, right? Name, position, grad year, GPA if that's necessary, and then probably the team you play for. Include all of that key info on that title slide. You can definitely start with your best 3 to 5 plays first. If you're a middle, that should be like you hitting or blocking. It shouldn't be you like digging a ball, right? Even if it's an amazing play, I probably wouldn't put it first. And then you got show best and most important skills first. Liberos, serve, receive, and defense. Setters, setting. You know, I can't tell you the amount of times I've watched a recruiting film and it starts with serving. Serving's great, it's important, but I don't need to see my middle serve. You most likely you won't serve in college unless you actually have an amazing serve. Keep the tempo quick. Don't want it to be like you just hitting the ball. We want to see your footwork. We want to see your transition. A lot of the clips should probably start with the other side, either serving or attacking the ball over. Like you can start literally from that girl swinging or that guy swinging, and then we can see the full movements of you attacking. We don't really need long rallies. There may be a time that a coach may ask for game film from you. They can look at long rallies and evaluate your gameplay that way. This again is just a minute to 2 minutes of your best gameplay so that we can just get that coach to mark you down to come see you in person. Make your transitions clear from one section to the next. Well, you'll see that in the highlight video. It should be like attacking with big bold letters, and then a bunch of clips of you attacking, and then blocking and a bunch of clips of you blocking. Trying to get the highlights from 3 to 4 matches. It's really bad if you go from like a club game from the back end line to like a high school game on the sideline. It's like, just think about like the filming of it. You want it to look nice and neat and clear. And it can get a little disorienting if you're kind of moving around with different angles all the time with your clips. Leave out those easy plays. Nobody needs to see you pass free balls. If you're going to play in college, we already assume you can pass free balls. Again, highlight video. There's no highlights in passing a free ball or a down ball. Throw some music in there, show some personality with your music, totally fine, but keep it appropriate. These people work in offices. They have administrators. They don't need, you know, Lizzo playing in their office when their administrator walks by. The only thing I'll say about this is make sure that your highlight is a highlight. We said leave out the easy plays, but like if I serve a ball and it dribbles over the net, that's not really a great serve by me. It's kind of a lucky play. If I take like a weird approach and I'm off balance and I'm reaching sideways and I just keep the ball in and the defender shanks it, that's not really my best swing. That doesn't highlight my best plays as a player. That just means that that other team was probably pretty bad. Another example of this, we get this a lot, is like a setter will drop a ball in like maybe 5 or 6 feet short of the pin, but the outside's really good and comes in and buries it. That makes that outside hitter look great. But to me, I'm like, she can't push the ball out to the pin. So think about that when you're making these videos, is like, you know, where your coach wants certain things in certain ways to happen. Like, does your technique look good? Is your effort there? You know, I don't want to see someone just like not transitioning and then burying a ball just because they're bigger than the team they're playing against. I want to see good footwork, good transitions. Think about, would your coach be proud of the play you just made? And that's probably a good way to think about it.
Yeah, I love that. I think any play that shows like athleticism, I think is really important. Maybe a play where you jump and then have to jump again, or, you know, something where you're up high hitting hard. Even if you get dug, again, that would be a better swing to include than maybe a ball where you don't get dug, but it hits the tape and it wasn't a good approach.
Absolutely. I've seen quite a few videos too where someone will include like a kick save on a cover. Like you're standing there and you kick the ball. Like that's not good coverage. That's not good volleyball. Like, yeah, it's a cool play, but it's not something that a coach wants to see. All right, so we got Tatum here, and this is her highlight video. So Kat's gonna hit play.
If this works, I think this is a good one, like this one, because it was short and sweet and had her best plays first. So we'll just show maybe 30 seconds of it.
Perfect. Good title slide, right? All the necessary info. It's a little choppy, but it's Tatum getting a nice kill. Big block, great celebration. You know, if you're a very fun player on the court, you have a lot of energy, it's okay to showcase that. Coaches love that. This is high school film as well. It's usually filmed from the sideline. College coaches prefer the end line when possible, but it's better than nothing to at least send this off. But if we can get some film from the end line, it's preferred.
Yeah, and obviously not everyone's 6'4". Not everyone's film will be, you know, highlights of bouncing the ball. But I think for the level that Tatum was trying to play, she's now committed to Fordham. She wanted to play D1. She had the physicality to do that. I like this video because it shows that right away, and it showed that she could play at that level right away. It really grabs your attention in the first, 20 seconds.
So if you have a lot of film and you're on top of creating your film and your highlights, it's great to make a YouTube channel. It makes you searchable. You can just type in a player's name, their YouTube channel will pop up. The only thing I'll add is like, it's nice to be able to see the growth and development. If you find that like we have some freshmen on this call, if you start one as a freshman and you're still not recruited going into your junior year, it's okay to go back and maybe delete some things that maybe don't look as good anymore. You may find that like, oh my God, I was terrible 2 years ago, and like I need to get that off my profile. Feel free to go through and make sure that everything on there still looks good for college coaches.
And I think that it doesn't, when people hear channel and they stress out because they think they need to have a lot of content, your channel can have 1 or 2 videos. That's fine. It's just that's how you make an account on YouTube. You make a channel, you can put your highlights and maybe a second highlight video shows up later, as long as it's something that's searchable, so that, if they Google your name and volleyball, that will be one of the first things that comes up. All right, I'll chat about sports recruits really quick. Let me see if I can play this in the meantime. So sports recruits, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other recruiting services, because we got that question from a few people when they registered for the webinar. This is not a recruiting service. I would say I call it a recruiting platform. So it's something to help you like streamline and organize your process. So you'll have your video links, a little bit of a profile. Again, all that stuff will be available on University Athlete, which is another free service that everyone absolutely should use. This is more of an optional add-on if you want to, if you're struggling to, organize it on Google Sheets, or you want to have just one kind of place where you have all of your communications. And one of my favorite things about this, which the video is going to show you right now, is the messaging. So rather than going on different college websites and then pulling all the emails into a spreadsheet, and then they change very often because coaches move, Sports Recruits keeps a database and they update it like every day of as coaches change programs. And you can click on any school and go into your messaging and just type in, Michigan, and it'll populate with like Michigan head coach, Michigan assistant coach, and very easy way for you to send out emails and then be able to track who looked at your video, who clicked on your links. And so that's a good place for like an initial reach out. Some people I know have had success reaching out on Sports Recruits and then maybe eventually moving that conversation into just like a Gmail or a text or something, but it's a good way to blast out a lot of emails quickly, which is something that, is just efficient. So we have, normally it costs like $700 a year if you were to sign up as an individual. We have a partnership with them and it's $250 a year that can be added on to club fees if anyone wants to. So when we'll send out a follow-up email that'll include a little bit more information that you guys can do some of your own research. You can sign up, absolutely no pressure. I know a lot of people have gotten recruited without it, but I do think this is one of the better platforms that you can use. And, if it saves you hours, then that can be worth the $250 for the year. Brendan, I don't know if you want to talk about any of the other services. And a University Athlete is not a service. That's more, again, another platform that's an essential, but there's a few others out there.
Yep. So just to clarify, University Athlete is basically so college coaches can easily access your information and see your course schedules and all that at tournaments. That is like 99% necessary for you to get recruited. You're going to want to do that. I am a big fan of Sports Recruits from your end. The capability of being able to quickly send messages to coaches, like we're talking about these template emails, instead of having to go into Outlook or Mail or anything like that and literally create all these different boxes and copy and paste into these different boxes. It'll save you a lot of time. That being said, if you're a kid, you're a sophomore, and there's 4 schools that you're going to go to, and you're looking NESCAC or you're looking at these specific schools, then you may not need this because you can just quickly send 4 emails. But if you're going to build a list of 20, 30, 40, 50 schools and blast out a lot of interest, this will save you a ton of time, and that $250 will pay for itself very quick. As far as like NCSA, private recruiters, a lot of other recruiting services where they're going to help recruit on your behalf, like a person is going to do it. I don't recommend them. There are a few private people that are good at what they do. So before you ever sign up for anything and you want to run it by me or Kat, feel free to just say, hey, I'm considering using so-and-so, and we may know them or we can do some research into them. But I would get emails all the time from services like NCSA that would send me kids that, hey, I have a 5'5" outside hitter. She's got a 4.3. She'd be great for your team. And I'm like, do you know how good we are? Our outsides are 6 foot. We're touching 10 feet. So once people start sending you people that are not a great fit for your program, they lose their credibility. and coaches just don't open those emails anymore. I'd rather call Kat and say, hey, who do you have that's good for me, than open an email from a random person that's like doesn't really have your best interest in mind if they're sending you to programs that you're not a good fit for. So save your money. Kat, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I say it's absolutely something that you guys can, and most of you will do on your own with a little bit of, support from us or a little support from sports recruits. But, coaches want to hear from you more than I hear a lot of people say like, oh, are there, recruiters? There aren't really recruiters in volleyball. It's a little bit different than baseball and other sports like that. There are coaches who are looking for people, and they generally want to hear from the people themselves, that being the kids.
Yeah, all they're going to do, honestly, is take the template email that we're asking you to make, and then they're going to send it to coaches on your behalf. And if you spend the money on sports recruits, you made that process really simple for yourself anyway. So it's kind of redundant, and unless they're really, really good at their job, and I've yet to meet one that's not still in volleyball, save your money for sure.
All right, I think we're ready for part 2.
All right. So ramping up. So we're going to talk a little bit about more like communication with coaches. For a lot of you guys, this will be Division 3 can communicate earlier than this, but for most of you, this will be communication June 15th and later. Talking about tournaments, the mid to late stage recruiting. We have some juniors and seniors on here who have been in the process. Talking about summer camp selections and breaking that up by like what you should be doing year by year. And then some tips from myself and some of my friends that are still in the game as college coaches. All right, so how often should you be communicating? This to me, like right now, I know some people have been sending emails and not hearing back. College coaches are taking a break. They work 80+ hours a week during the fall. And now they're working during the winter if you're a boy. So right now, you don't have to do too much. It's okay to send a happy holiday email if you want to just let them know that you're still there. But for the most part, starting probably after the new year, we want to start blasting out those introductions or reintroduction emails. And then from there, we always want to communicate before a qualifier, before a big tournament. And I would say probably every 3 to 4 weeks during our club seasons, we want to send out something. After you've sent that introduction email, I don't want to make this seem very daunting. Again, this process is easier, I think, if you use sports recruits to send your messaging. But every 3 to 4 weeks is just like a season update. Hey, my team's been crushing it in the gym. And then adding something personal to that email. The coach already knows you play volleyball. They can call your coach and see how you're doing in the gym. But like something about you. Who directs the conversation when you're talking with coaches? For the first call or two, it's probably going to be a lot of the coach trying to give you their pitch on their school, why you should go there, things about the school. You should definitely be involved in it. Definitely have some questions, and we're going to talk more about that on a different slide. And then emails and calls and DMs and texts. It's going to start out with email. Once you can get into texting and phone calls, that will matter more. Coaches aren't going to have phone calls with 100 kids. They're going to have phone calls with the kids that they're actually interested in, and the kids that they think can benefit their program. So once you can get to that on a texting and call relationship, it most likely means that you're on their list, on their board. And we're talking about that quite a bit as we move forward. I think we're good. All right, tips and tricks for communicating. Don't ask anything you can find out in a quick Google search. Don't ask how many kids go to your school. Don't ask if, hey, do you guys have nursing? You should know that before you get into that conversation with the coach. Research the school ahead of time and reference that in conversation. Let them know that you've done your research. Hey, I saw that you guys are top 10 in business. Do you have any kids that are on the team that are pursuing business right now? Be yourself, be professional. Don't be, if you have a FaceTime call, don't be in like a onesie or something. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to put a suit on. You don't have to look super nice. You can throw on your Northeast gear and be comfortable, but don't have, I don't know, a Justin Bieber poster in the background, set yourself up and maybe borrow mom or dad's office. Especially if you're going on a FaceTime call. And then always prepare some questions. You need to get to know them as much as they want to get to know you. This is like things about the school, things about the coach, but also like we keep talking about, like, you want to build a relationship. You're going to go play for this person. This person is going to be a big part of your life. So getting to make sure that like you like them and they like you is a giant part of this. Our goal should be like we want to avoid that transfer portal, right? Like we want you to go somewhere that you're going to be happy.
Totally. It's all about fit. And I think the coach experience is a big part of that a lot of people maybe don't pay enough attention to, because they're paying a lot of attention to maybe the name brand of the school, but this, coach you're going to have for 4 years, in most cases. And they're, like you said, they're going to have a big impact on your life. You want to make sure you respect them. Parents, you want to make sure it's someone you're comfortable with, and that is really invested in you and going to help make you better. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Not that this is going to happen to anyone, but you could get injured. Things could happen. We want to make sure you like the school, like the coach, like the program, so that you can still enjoy your experience regardless of volleyball. So here's some questions that you can ask. I'm not going to read through all of these. You guys can read through them as I'm talking. And honestly, there's another thing, like with the template, we don't want to give you guys a list of questions, because I know 15 of you are going to call the same NESCAC coach and you're going to ask these questions, and it's going to feel like this coach is in like a robotic interview. All right. So think about things that may matter to you. Keep them open-ended. Things like one of my examples is like, instead of saying like, what's your coaching style? Ask them like, what do you enjoy about coaching? Like they're going to open up to you and explain maybe like they really enjoy like seeing light bulbs go off, and they love, just elevating people's game and taking that next level. Things, open-ended questions are going to give you a better look into a coach's personality. And again, we need to form that relationship so that you are comfortable playing for this person, like Kat said, so you respect them and you want to play for them. It's okay to ask things like, what do you think I should work on? I like that one a lot, because if they've seen you play, if they've seen you play and they like you, they should kind of remember you and they should know something about you. So seeing if their advice kind of fits. So like if you're a setter and they're like, you should really keep working on your arm swing, it's like, this dude doesn't even know who I am. So I think that's a good one into a little bit of like trying to gather some intel on how well they know you and if they remember you from watching you play. And again, this should feel more like a conversation than an interview, and that's why we're a little hesitant to like ask these questions. What matters to you, and keep them open-ended.
Yeah, and I think the questions can get more specific or later phone calls too. For the first one, they might be some more of those open-ended get to know you questions. Although I do think are you recruiting my position in your year? If you're a setter or libero, you can pretty much assume if you're a hitter, they're assuming they're recruiting hitters in every class, but that one's really important to ask early on. But some of the more specific ones about, financial aid scholarship, things like that, how many kids are you looking at? Like those might be more appropriate for a second call. So you can kind of feel it out.
Yep. And along with that, if you are a pin hitter or a middle, it's okay to ask how many of my position are you recruiting? They're recruiting one outside versus like they might be saying, hey, we got 3 pins that we're looking for. Just so you know your odds are a little better with that program. Tournament communications. I mentioned this when we talked about how often you should be talking. We're going to send out our intro emails in January. Boys, you guys have already kind of started, so you guys probably want to get on this. But again, coaches enjoy their holiday time, so they're going to look at their inbox after the holidays anyway. So early January is when we want to send out that blast before every qualifier, 2 to 3 days before. Let them know your tournament schedule. Again, they have this through University Athlete, but it's helpful. Always include that, the division you're playing in, that you'd love to see them come play. And then You will always follow up with a highlight video. If you know that they came to see you, maybe your coach knows, maybe your parents saw who stopped by the court, you can say, thank you for coming to watch. Here's a highlight film from the thing. My team placed whatever. Usually you only put that in if you placed well. That highlight video, because we don't want to stress you guys out. You don't need to make a 2-minute video every time you play. 30 to 60 seconds, your top plays, just something quick that happened at that tournament to showcase yourself again. Maybe that coach. It's really tough when you're recruiting as a college recruiter, because I've went to watch players play and they were absolutely terrible. I don't know, maybe they had Chipotle before the game, maybe they just didn't sleep well, they didn't have their coffee yet. But like times when I was like, this kid is absolutely terrible and can't help us, and then my boss would go to watch and the kid was lights out. So it's always good to, regardless of like the tournament, to send out your highlight video, because a coach may look at it and go, oh, I didn't like this kid, but let me check out the 30 seconds, and they might go, oh wow, I might have saw a bad game. So it's always good to follow up with that email. Mm-hmm. Our goal from our tournaments is if you're sophomore or younger, our goal is like, we're going to send out those highlight videos. A coach is going to come watch you at a qualifier. And then the goal is a college coach will send an interest email to Kat or myself. And then most likely we will forward that along to you. Before your junior year, they are not allowed to send you things directly. They can't say, hey, I love watching you play. This is for Division I, Division III, they're allowed to. So they'll send us an email saying, hey, I really liked watching John play. He did really good in this match. We're very interested in him, and then we can kind of forward that along to you. If it's after your junior year, ideally that, or if it's in your junior year or later, that coach would be sending you an email directly and saying like, hey, I really enjoyed watching you play. So we're trying to get some feedback from coaches through these tournaments.
Yeah, I think one other thing, sometimes people hear that, the timeline of that, and kind of freak out. It's a little bit ironic. The D3 coaches can contact you before June 15th, but most of them aren't really recruiting sophomores. They're recruiting juniors and seniors. A lot even late junior, early senior year, depending on the level, unless it's maybe a top D3 program. So even though they can contact you, they may not, unless they see you play at a camp or something and they really love you. But the D1s who are recruiting freshmen and sophomores, they can't contact you. That contact is all going through us. So usually it's not really an issue for, like they said, the D3s, because that all starts later. So when Brendan's talking about that kind of that communication going through us, that's more so for athletes who are looking to play at the D1 level and have the skills or physicality to do that. And then that communication will go through us until that June 15th date, when they're allowed to have back and forth contact with the athlete themselves. So this is a new rule. It's made things harder and for the clubs and harder for the coaches, and it may go away at some point, because while it was meant to protect the athletes in a way, I think it's made things more stressful for them, because you don't know necessarily what's going on. But if a D1 coach is interested in you before that date, they will find a way to let you know, whether it's through us, or through a lot of email blasts and letters and things like that. So that's, not necessarily something, if you're looking at that level, that you need to worry about.
Good clarification.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our late stage guys. It's after June 15th of your junior year. This is now when Division I coaches can contact you. Again, the D3s can already contact you. This is when you should really start thinking about sending those like bi-weekly, every 2 to 3 weeks, a short update through the club season. Picture's worth 1,000 words. That's my puppy that I just got. I can't see any of you because you don't have your screens open, but I'm sure somebody on here was like, oh my God, what a cute puppy. That matters. There was a player or a recruit that would send me and Kevin emails at Yale, and they would always have like cute videos of their animal. And we didn't end up recruiting the kid, but we went to watch her play, because we were like, oh, that's the girl that sends the dog videos. Like, we got to go. So just anything you do to make yourself stand out, build your personality, let the coach know something about you. You can include things like it could be like, we're working really hard in the gym, excited about this qualifier coming up. And then another paragraph like, oh, me and my family just went on this amazing vacation. We did some volunteering, a book you read, maybe you build something, maybe something about your siblings or pets, just literally anything that lets the coach know something about you besides the fact that you play volleyball. They know that already. When you get to phone calls and text messages with coaches, it's okay to ask, where am I on your list? Hopefully coaches are transparent and they'll communicate this with you. We'll talk about this again later, but some coaches will be honest and say, listen, you're in our top group. Some coaches will say you're on our board, and trying to figure out what that means can be a little tricky. And we're here to help with that, but we're going to talk about that more on our tips and tricks at the end. What is the timeline for recruiting my spot? I think it's only fair that you're able to ask a coach, are you making offers now? Is there an offer out that, I'm behind? Or are you waiting to see, maybe if you're a junior, some of the high academics wait to see first semester grades of senior year. So just kind of knowing where coaches are at so that you're not stressed out and kind of left in the dark. And then leveraging other offers. This can be pretty important. Once you I keep bringing up the NESCAC. I know it's a commonly sought after conference for our female players. If you get an offer from the best NESCAC school, you're most likely every other NESCAC school wants you, right? They're the best, they want you, so every other school would want you. But let's say that the best school isn't your top. You can use that and say, hey, where am I on your list? I have an offer from X school and they need to know. That will put some pressure on the coach. There's a story of I won't say the player of the school, but someone did not tell us that they were looking at another Ivy. They didn't mention any other Ivies. And so our thought process was, okay, well, if we don't go with her, we also don't have to play against her. And then 3 days later, she accepted an offer from a different school, and then we had to play against her in our conference. If she had let us know that we were going to have to play against her, she would have been on our roster and we were her top choice. So feel free to leverage other offers and be a little transparent there.
Very good advice. All right.
Summer camps. This is a big source of anxiety for a lot of players and parents, mostly for that D1 rule where you can't communicate till June 15th. So you're picking camps your sophomore year, not knowing who may or may not be interested in you. So it's important, and we're going to do the best we can to help you guys smooth out that process. This is obviously your opportunity to play in front of the coach. You get to be coached by them, get a feel for their coaching style. Are they tough? Are they laid back? And that's your preference. What do you want out of your coach? Meeting the current athletes, making sure you're recruiting your position. Parents definitely can help with this. We're going to talk about parents, what you should do and not do. This is definitely something this is your money, right? You don't want to waste your money or your time. It's okay to ask these questions when you have these initial phone calls. And I want to plug really quick, just so everyone is aware, doesn't matter the level, you are always allowed to call about camps. You cannot call about recruiting, but you can call and say, hey, I'm interested in your camp, and talk logistics. When you have a coach on the phone, I don't even know if I should say this. Sometimes things can be said that would not normally be said in an email or a text, because ideally no one's recording that conversation. So you may be able to get some gray information out of a coach if you call them and just talk to them about camp. Again, use some open-ended questions, see what you can draw out, right? Send a nice thank you after camp. That's always a good idea. Just let the coaches know you enjoyed it. You loved it. You're still interested in the school, because kids may go to a camp and go, I hate the school. I'm going to do the camp because I'm here to get better at volleyball, but I also don't like the school. So it's nice to let them know, hey, I really enjoyed the experience. I loved working with the coaches, love the campus, the players, all that good stuff. It's not really asking a refund. If you need to cancel, definitely let the coaches know as far in advance as possible. Sometimes the platforms that they use have fees that have to be maintained, but most coaches are very good about refunding you. Also, I will say a lot of the camps will overlap. It is okay to reach out to a camp and say, hypothetically, Harvard and Princeton are the same weekend. You can call and ask and say, hey, I'd really like to go to both camps. Can I just do Saturday here? And then can I ask the other school, can I just do Sunday here? Usually they can prorate it for you. They aren't allowed to make it cheaper in any way, because that would be a violation, but they can prorate it precisely. So when you're at this camp, really quick, with the current athletes are an amazing resource. You can get some information from them, like how do they enjoy the experience? Do they like the coach? What is their travel like? You can get to see some of the support that they have at the school. When you're at that camp, are all the volleyballs really, really old and dingy? What does their equipment look like? You might get to see the locker room. What does that look like? This will just give you a feel of like, what is the support that's at this program? And, you may like the school academically, but you're like, oh God, I feel like the administration doesn't support the program. The traveling can be really big, especially in the high academics. I was at Yale. We were in the middle of the conference. All of our bus rides were basically 2 to 3 hours. If you're Cornell, your bus rides are like 5 to 8 hours every trip. So just take advantage of the opportunity to literally get a one-on-one or one-on however many athletes you're working with that are at that program, and pick their brains. They're there for that. Their coaches bring in existing players so that they can help sell the program. So definitely take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. I like to pay attention to the coach and player interactions too. So, how they speak to and are kind of received by their current players, I think says a lot about, the level of respect and things like that, and the relationships that they have with their current players. So you can kind of see the style a little bit there. And like you said, it's a way to evaluate them as much as you are being kind of evaluated and trying to stand out. It's really important.
All right, so to kind of give you an idea of where you should be at when you're selecting camps, and again, this changes depending on boys and girls, and it changes depending on the division that you're looking for. These are just some general guidelines. As a freshman and sophomore, use these camps to experience different types of schools. I've talked to a few of you guys about this. If you are just starting to make your list, it's a good idea. Like pick one in a city, pick a rural one, pick different sizes. It'll be a great way to get a school visit in, so you can experience a campus at the same time as getting a volleyball camp in. And that'll help you narrow focus your list later. Like, this was out in the middle of nowhere. You know what? I would really like being in a city. So now all those schools that you make are on your list would ideally be an urban school. Use those experiences to get better at volleyball and start your process. So juniors and seniors, this is when you'd be able to use your, you'd be able to make some phone calls and contact coaches so that you can narrow your list of the schools that you're interested in. Me and Kat can help with this too when you get down to a small list. But you can have a direct conversation with a coach and you can say, hey, where am I on your list? Am I actually being considered for a spot? Am I being considered for a scholarship spot? And then you can make the list of camps that you want to go to ideally get an offer. And then your goal is to evaluate where you stand versus the other campers and hope to get an offer. If you are a sophomore that's trying to pursue Division I, you probably want to treat your camp experience like a junior. You really want to have a list of schools that are interested in you. Me and Kat will have to help with that because you can't have direct contact with the coaches. But a lot of offers are given at summer camps, sophomore going into junior year. So when you get to camps, probably starting sophomore year, when we say evaluate yourself against other campers, a lot of camps will have what's called the top court. You'll know if you're on it or not. There's going to be really good volleyball on one court and there's going to be not as good volleyball on another court. If you're not on that top court, it's okay. It just means that we may have to find a program that maybe isn't as good, to put it blankly, which is fine. We need to find a space where you fit into that program. But it'll give you a good idea of this is a Division I program, and I was on the top court, but it didn't seem like I was getting a lot of interest from the coaches. Okay, let's find a program. Maybe if it was the top of the Ivy, now you're going to look at the middle of the Ivy. So it's not like you're going to go from D1 to D3 right away, but it's just finding the right spot for you.
Mhm. All right, we've got, just so everyone knows, we are right at 9. We've got 3 slides left with some really good information about some insider information, some kind of parent involvement where you can help, some do's and don'ts, and then a quick checklist. So we'll probably be about 10 more minutes or so. If you guys want to hang on, if you need to jump, we'll keep recording and post it on YouTube.
All right, and I'll try and go quick for you guys. John, just to answer your question really quick, a list of camps that I'd recommend. I do not. This really comes down to your interests and your child's interests. I'm assuming you're a parent, but I guess you could be a player. So it comes down to your interests. You looking academic, then you need to make a list of academic schools. If you're looking, Big Ten, you need to make a list of Big Ten schools. So me and Kat can help you with like coaches that are good and stuff like that once you make your list, but we can't help you build that list. So some insider info, who you communicate with matters. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. My lights just turned on. Alexa, turn on office lights.
Okay.
All right, so who you communicate with matters. Head coach, associate coach, or assistant coach, and then a second assistant. Ideally, you'll get a phone call and communicate with all of them. But if you've never talked to the head coach and you're going into, well, if you're D3 and you never talked to the head coach, that's not good. If you're D1 and you're going into your junior year and you've never talked to the head coach, that's not good. I know people are listed as the recruiting coordinator or recruiting director for a college program, but I promise you that the head coach, when June 15th rolls around, is making those calls to their top players. So you may not be in their top 5 if you're not talking to the head coach right away. And that's okay. But if you don't hear from them in like a month after June 15th, you're probably not on the top of their list. And it's time for you to consider some other programs. Personalization in an email. I know what this looks like, and I'm sure Kat does too. If an email comes in after a tournament and it just says like, hey, I loved watching Kat play. She did well at Big South. Good luck this season. Like, that's not a great email. If it's like, hey, Kat looks really good. Like, you guys was working hard in the gym. She had this great play against Metro and this amazing thing happened. It looks really, really good. You keep credit. Like, that's a better email than just like a blanket statement like, hey, she's got a lot better. So we'll get those obviously when you're a freshman or a sophomore. And we can kind of help you navigate that. But if you're in the junior year and it just doesn't seem like they're putting a lot of effort into their emails, you're probably just on a standard list. Phone calls, text, way more valuable. We mentioned this before. There's just not enough time for coaches to call everyone. So if you're not getting a phone call or a FaceTime going into that junior year after June 15th, you may be lower on the list from college coaches. So speaking of that, you're on our list. We got a nice image here of a college coach with a whiteboard. There's a lot of names on there, right? Every year, I have a few friends that are in Power Fives. They might start with a list of 30 outside hitters, maybe more. So being on a list and then being in that top selected group with like best players that they really want are kind of two different things. I will say, if you're on a list and you really like that school and they invited you to camp, that may be your one opportunity to prove to them that you deserve to be in that top group, and you can show up at camp and compete against those kids and prove them wrong and make sure you end up in that top group. But it's also more likely that you're on a list and you could potentially be a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup if you're not communicating with that head coach. So you have to kind of start to piece this together. Like, how much communication am I having? Is it good communication? They're saying I'm on a list. They want me to come to camp, but they won't tell me if I'm in the top group or not. Some coaches, this is generalizations, like a lot of coaches will tell you if you're in like, hey, you're in our top 5. We really want to get all of you guys into camp so we can, have you guys compete against each other, see who the best player is. If a kid is really good and they really want you, sometimes they'll be completely honest and say, you're our top kid. Like, we want to offer you, you're our top kid. When do you want to accept an offer, and ask you about your timeline? Things like, I get all the time, people are like, oh, I'm being recruited by Wisconsin. They sent me an email and a camp invite. That's sometimes that's automated. You submit a questionnaire and it's gonna automatically invite you to camp and say thank you for your interest. If you're being recruited, they'll be sending those emails post-tournament consistently. After every time you play, we should be getting something. And if it's Division III, they should be reaching out. You can be texting. So again, this communication really, really matters. If you're just getting camp invites, it's these guys are trying to make money as well. A lot of assistant coaches get paid through camp. So communication is key. And we talked about being transparent. I talked about, if you don't hide things, leverage things, be transparent, tell coaches, hey, you are my top choice. I'm looking at these 2 other schools. It's not a great way to start a relationship if you're being deceptive or lying about things. And if you feel like you have to do that, honestly, it's probably not a good fit anyway. All right, so parent do's and don'ts. I will go through quick. Be involved 100%, ask questions, help organize your child's recruiting, but don't answer for your child, especially on a FaceTime. If I say, what are you looking to study? And parent jumps in and says, well, he or she is going to study business. And I'm already like, wait, I'm here to talk to the kid. Don't call a coach on your child's behalf unless it's about financials or maybe summer camp logistics. You don't want to call. I've gotten calls. Hey, are you recruiting a setter in this class? My daughter. And I'm like, oh, have your daughter call me. No, we really want independent kids. We don't want people calling mommy and daddy when their playing time is a little low to complain to the coaches. Don't write their emails for them or fill out forms for them. More often than you think, parents will either use their email. So you know how it looks when an email comes through and then it creates a contact and now it has the parent name. Or forms have been filled out with parent names and then they have to be like, send an embarrassing email like, hey, I submitted this, but it's my dad's name. It's like, okay, well, why is your dad's name in there? It's not a great way to get started. Parents, it's okay to have difficult conversations. Some of you guys are gonna have to have conversations about finances. What can you afford for college? Are you seeking scholarships? Can you make it work without a scholarship? The academics or the major that you want your child to pursue. These are, family decisions that need to be made. It's okay to have those conversations within your household, and it's okay to have those conversations with coaches. Money can be an awkward topic for people, but it is okay to tell a coach, hey, we really need a scholarship. And then, hopefully the coach is a good person and will be completely honest with you and let you know if they're considering you for a full ride, maybe a partial, which again, a partial would be as a head count sport. You'll hear for 2 for 4 a lot. That means 2 years will be covered out of the 4. So it's okay to have those conversations. And then quickly at tournaments, it is okay to say hello to a coach. I would only do that if it's someone you've been communicating with. You don't have to go up and introduce yourself to the Stanford coach. I don't know anyone here that has had regular communication with the Stanford head coach. So it's good if your kid's been talking to someone a lot, it's okay to go, hey, I'm so-and-so's dad, very nice to meet you. That's where the conversation has to end. Don't ask college coaches about recruiting at tournaments. They're not allowed to talk to you. Even D3s, I don't think they want to talk to you guys during a tournament. Some D3 coaches will hang out at the end of the day and they're allowed to talk to recruits at the end of a tournament when they've been released by their coach. One of my favorite things is I always get the, hey, I know we can't talk, but yes, that's where that conversation ends. We can't talk. No one wants to get sanctioned because you wanted to ask a question inappropriately. Cheer on your team, be supportive. Don't scream at refs, underpaid refs like a maniac, or a 16-year-old girl that's reffing that doesn't even want to be there. It's coaches see you, especially if you're wearing your child's number or t-shirt, they see who you are and they're going to go, I don't want that maniac at my games. So be a positive, supportive parent, be involved, don't be a helicopter parent, and be sane-minded at tournaments.
I think that's all very good advice. I think kind of similar to our role of parents, I think you guys can help, with some of the organization. It might be a skill that you've honed a little bit more. Maybe, proofreading emails is a great place you can help. Helping with follow-ups, hey, a reminder to follow up, things like that, because we do want athletes replying to emails, within 48 hours, kind of similar to how you might have to do at work, things like that. So I think those are areas where you can help, but we've definitely seen the athletes that own their process, 95+% of the work being done by the kid, having the most success in this process.
Yep. So we talked about a lot. Again, this can be overwhelming, but I'd prefer it be exciting for you guys. So we made a quick little checklist. You just got to create that email, claim or update your university athlete profile, work on that template intro email, create highlight video, and then email coaches after the new year. That's really all you have to do for now to get started. Me and Kat can help with summer camp planning and stuff like that in the spring. For those of you that joined later that are already in your stage, mid to late stage recruiting, for you guys, this would still be the same. Go in and update your profile. I had a few of my athletes not update their profile before our last tournament, and then coaches are asking me about them, but they're committed. So please go in and update. Again, maybe you grew, GPA, all that good stuff. For those of you that are late stage, that template to introduce yourself, make a reintroduction. Make sure coaches are still know that you're a reintroduction email. Make sure they know you're still interested. But also it's okay to ask in that email, are you still recruiting my position for your class? That's a great way to get started. And then from there, you can kind of figure out who's still recruiting. And then you can get into those phone conversations and text conversations leading up to tournaments.
All right, I got just a couple things to add, kind of, again, just to kind of wrap it all up. I think that, like Brendan said, this can be really overwhelming. It is a lot of work, so but it's also very exciting, and the outcome can definitely 100% be worth it. And even if it doesn't work out exactly how you want to, a lot of times I find that people who start the process may end up finding a school that they didn't even have on their list that ends up being a great fit. So you may have ideas of where you're kind of headed one way and the process might take you another way. And I think my biggest piece of advice is, if you want to play, just start. Don't wait until you have perfect film and everything. Start somewhere. Even if you're not getting replies now, as you get better, you keep sending video. I've had athletes reach out to a school 5 or 6 times, and then like the 6th or 7th time, all of a sudden the coach is interested. Who knows why? Maybe that player got better. Maybe their top recruit dropped out. Whatever the case is, being persistent and kind of starting the process, even if you don't feel quite ready, can be a good start. The other thing is that the timeline can change dramatically. I've had athletes start playing club junior year. Sydney Katz, one of our alumni, started playing junior year, decided she wanted to play in college, probably spring, was recruited fall of her senior year, I believe was when she committed. It happened for her in a matter of 6 months, and she worked her butt off in the gym and had a great personality, and did a great job targeting schools that were the right level for her, and that really worked out. So that timeline that Brendan laid out, which went freshman to senior year, that will be the timeline for some athletes, especially those that are looking more at the D1 level. But other people will jump in as a sophomore, as a junior, even as a senior. And there will still be opportunities. Lastly, reaching out to a lot of schools, I think is really important. Even schools at different levels, like you might think you're here, and from a volleyball standpoint, you're up at this super high level. Reach out to schools that are higher and lower and see who bites, and then that'll give you a sense of kind of maybe what conferences and level you should be targeting. If no one's replying, maybe you've reached a little bit too high, and you want to add in some schools that are a little bit lower ranked or a different division. So I think that's a good way that you guys can kind of start the process. And then we had a question about social media, which I did want to address. It can, creating a volleyball Instagram is very popular, trendy thing to do right now. It is something that only we see a few people do really well. And it may cause more stress for your athlete, for you as kids, than it does help you. So I would only recommend doing that if that's something that you are really good at, you're really passionate about, it's fun for you to post and make highlight videos, and you enjoy that, and you think that that's something that you can do well. If not, I don't necessarily think that you need it. I know many and most athletes get recruited without it. I would recommend, if you have a personal Instagram, probably making that private, because in some ways social media can hurt you more than it helps you, depending on what kind of content you're putting on there. So that's kind of I think on social media, it's that we didn't include it on purpose because it's not one of the things that you need to get recruited. It is something that only some people will use. And it's definitely not something that's needed. Your video, your email, all those things that Brendan was talking about before, those are the keys. Getting as good as you can in the gym, those are the keys. And so yeah, we have I think we're right at 9:15. So if anyone wants to either unmute themselves and ask a couple questions or pop something in the chat, I'm happy to stay on for another 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, I think we can probably let everyone